Hey everyone, my name is Jeremiah and this is the first video on my brand new YouTube channel, The Computer Sand. Today we're going to be going over a few object-oriented programming data types and also some vocabulary that you need to know to get you started on your programming journey. And first of all, we're going to start with getting your development environment set up. So as we can see here on my screen, we're going to be using VS Code, which is a free text editor that allows you to run computer programs. So I'm using a Mac, so for me, I'm going to download the zip file, and depending on the kind of Mac you have, you might need the Apple one or the Intel chip. And if you're not sure which one you have, I would go up here and click on About This Mac, and you should be able to tell pretty easily. And once that's downloaded, so once that is downloaded, you want to I gotta delete this. So once that's downloaded, you'll want to go into your downloads folder and you'll see the zip file, and all you have to do is double click this, and when this comes up, you'll take this Visual Studio Code and you'll just drop this into your applications. And since I have this already, let me just not do that. So since I already have this installed, I won't be doing that step. And then we're just gonna open up Visual Studio's code. Let me grab a new window. Okay, so when you first open up Visual Studio's code for the first time, you should see a welcome page just like this. And I'm going to take you to the extensions tab, which is right here on the left side. And if we click on this and type in Java. So for this video, we're going to be using these extensions that are listed right here. And these should be downloaded already with VS Code, but if they aren't, I would just pause this video and take a second to download these ones. And also, I'm going to be showing you a few things in Python in this video. So if you would like, I would download these top 4 right here. Right, and then once we have those, we're going to go here and we're going to click create a Java project. And after we go here, we're just going to click no build tools. Alright, and after this no build tools, you'll see something that just tells you to insert a project name. And once you insert that project name, you should see something similar to this one right here. And for me, I just named mine first project. So here we have a few folders. We're gonna go inside of the SRC, which stands for source folder, and then double click on this app.java. And as we can see in here, we have something called a class, and then we have this, which is called a method. And just to pause right here, with object-oriented programming, we'll have it's a program that uses objects that have unique attributes and behaviors that are defined inside of the objects. It uses these two components to interact with other objects, and those objects are used to create different systems that you and I use today, or even if you need something for fun on the side, like if you want a personal assistant, or even if you want something just to make your life a little easier. So first, we're going to just test out and make sure all of our code is working. And here we're just going to click this run. If you don't see these right here, I would check this top right corner, and you'll see a play button, and it will just say run code, and that just runs whatever code is in the file that you have right here. And what you'll see a lot when you're learning a new programming language is you'll see this hello world command, or hello world setup. So what this is doing is we're pretty much just printing out the phrase hello world, as you can see, and the system.out.println is just us telling the system, which is our computer, that we want to print the following that's inside of these two parentheses. And that's pretty much all we're doing. So if I run this, we can see here the hello world, and we're gonna close that for now, and let's get into this video. So first of all, we're gonna go through a few different things. So first we're gonna make something called a class object. So let me just make a dog. So dog is the name of our class, but dog is also going to be our object. And let's see. Actually, let me put this in a new folder. Okay. This will be a little easier to show. So here we have our dog object, and I'm gonna go through some of the common data types that we have in Java as well as other programming languages, and I'll show you the same thing in Python just so you can compare and contrast the different types. So first we're going to talk about an integer, and an integer is a whole number that can be positive, negative, or 0. So in Java, what that looks like, I'll just do int, and let's see. So this is gonna, we're gonna have a few variables that are using all these different data types. And variables you could think of as attributes. So since I'm making a dog class, let's say these attributes would be just characteristics of what a dog has. And after we go through these variables or these attributes, we'll talk about methods, and methods are used inside of a class to execute a series of steps or instructions, which you might also know as something called an algorithm, which is nothing scary, it's just a series of steps. And with methods, we use these when we have certain different actions that we want to perform, and something that we want to be repeatable. And we'll go through all that, but first let's go through the different types of data types. So first we have the integer, and let's see, for our dog, a good integer one would be, let's see, the number of legs the dog has. So let's see here. So here we can see I have an integer for legs, and we could see that I assign the value of 4 to this legs variable. And so now we're going to talk about a float and a double, and a float and a double are very similar to an integer. They can be positive, negative, or 0, but the difference with the float and double is that we could also use decimal points, and a float is used when we don't have a lot of decimal places that we need, and also it stores less memory inside of our program. So if you're not going to be dealing with large decimal places, a float might make sense depending on what you're working on. But a double allows us to do those complex computations if you have 15, 20 decimal places, which we need in some real life applications. So we have both of those options available to us in Java. So we'll make I'll show both, but for this video we're mainly going to be using the double. So to make a float, I'll just use weight for this one. So for this dog, let's say it weighs 35.4 pounds. And you see I have this capital F at the end, which lets just the compiler that runs our code know that this is a float. And for a double, I'll just make this weight 1 for now. We would do 35 point, I'll just show you, we could do like a bunch of different decimal places for this. So for this video, we're just going to use a double. So I'll just delete this row for now. Okay. And now we're going to talk about a Boolean. And a Boolean only has 2 possible values, which are true and false. So we'll go through that one. And for our dog, we'll check if the dog is happy or not. So right now, we'll set it to false. And when we go through the methods, I'll show you how we could change all these values. For our next one, we'll use it's called a character. And a character is just a single symbol, letter, or number. And I'll show you what the difference is with this one. So for to use a character, we just use char or char, or some people say car, depending on what part of the world you're in. So for this one, let's make this our let's say initial, our first initial. If I can spell. Okay. So the first initial of our dog, we'll use F. And why this is in the single quotes is because it's the actual data value is stored differently than these first 3 that we talked about. And this will make more sense when we're a few videos in, but for now, this one is read more literally, like if you were reading a book, and the integers and the doubles are more like if you're reading it for a math problem. And then for Boolean, it's just like it's more of a switch, so it's either on or off, you could think of. And now we're going to talk about a string. And a string is just it's 0 or more characters all put together. So that's why it's a string of characters you could think of, which is just how it got its name. So for our string, we'll just say name. So the name of our dog's gonna be Fido. And you can see that I'm using the double quotes here. This is so the compiler knows when we're using a string or when we're using a character, just based off the quotes. And also our string, you notice that it's capital. That's because if I hover over this, we could see that a string is actually an object. So here we see that string, it extends the object class, which is, you could think of it as the godfather of like what all classes come from. So everything will extend this object class. Even if I highlight over our dog, you can see it extends the object class. And that's just because of how Java is set up. So any object that we create inside of Java will extend this class, and that's just a generic object so that it knows the program, when it's running, it knows how to handle it. So it won't treat it like any of like an integer, double, boolean, or character, but it'll treat it differently. And also, I could share just what this shows, but these are just some helpful documentation that you might want to go through if you're ever using a new class that you don't know anything about. You could read and see a couple examples of how this works. So next, we're going to take our dog class and we're going to create a couple of methods. And let's see, so first let's go through we'll use our boolean one first because we don't want our dog not to be happy. So go through what a method looks like. If you remember how this main method is set up, so we're going to do something similar to this one, but it won't look exactly the same. So for our dog, we're gonna have our first method, and this one is gonna be public void, and then we're just gonna say make happy. So for this, this is called a method signature, which we'll dive a little more into later what this means as well. But for now, we're gonna have this method, and in here we're going to make our dog happy. So we're going to use our happy variable, and we're just going to change the value to true. So in here we'll say happy equals true, and that's it. That's all we're going to do for now. And next, let's see, we can change our dog's weight. Let's see, our dog is getting older, and it's kind of let itself go a little bit. It's not running around as much, so we could change the weight. So in here we could do public void change weight, and for this one we're going to add something called a parameter. And a parameter can be used to, you can pretty much consider it as a input that's used to help the method do a specific action. So for us, let's do double new weight. And with this new weight, all we're going to do is set the value of this new weight to our weight variable. Okay, so here we have that. So with this one, whatever a user puts in here for this new weight is going to be the new value for our weight variable right here. And another thing we can do with a method is we could use it to see what values are inside of our variables. So for this one, we'll say we'll use this one to see how many legs our dog has. And here we're going to do something slightly different. So with this one, you can see here I have the void, and when we use void inside of this method signature is what it's called, that means that we're not returning a value to whoever is using this method. But for this one, we're using int, so that means that the user is expecting something, a value to get returned is called. So in this one, we're going to use something new called return, and we're just going to return our legs variable. So when this is called, we're going to return our legs value, which is just this 4 up here. Okay, so now that we have our class set up, we have a object that we can use. We're going to go back to, or actually let me save this first. And we're just going to go back here, and we're going to create a dog object. And when we're creating a dog object, let's just call this sample dog. Okay. Alright, so now we have our sample dog. And if you notice, I have a dog, which is the name of our class with the capital D. And I have a variable name. So this is going to be our local variable. And what local means, it just means that it can't be used outside of these two curly braces. So this sample dog can only be used inside of this main method. And you'll see that when we get into more complex videos as well. We'll get more into that. So for now, we're gonna have our sample dog, and we have this new dog, as you can see. And in here, you'll notice that we don't have this dog, capital D dog method inside of our dog class. And that is because when we hovered over this, we saw that it extends the object class. So what the object class does is it has what's called a constructor. And let me show that. Oh. And here. So for example, if I did this, we'll get, oh. So actually the wrong way. If I do this, we can see that we don't see any errors because our dog is also an object. And this is just a sneak peek of something we'll get into called polymorphism and how inheritance works. So that's just something that we'll get into down the road. So let me change this back to dog. And now let's run some of our methods, and to show you how that works, we're just going to use our sample dog, and then we're going to use something called dot. And here you can see we have the variables. And so we have our variables here, the first initial, happy, legs, name, weight. And here we have our method, change weight, as well as make happy. And some of these other methods are just what we inherit from the object class, and we're just not going to use those in this video. So first, let me show you how we can pull directly from one of these, and we're going to print out, we're just going to print out the value for right now. So as you can see, there's this shortcut we could do called S out, and then if you press tab, it'll type out all of this for you. So now we're gonna take this right here. So now what this line is doing is it's printing the value of happy that we have defined in our dog object. And remember, we have this value here, or this method. When we run this method, we'll change the value. So let's try that one at first. Okay, so now let's do sample dog dot make happy. And if we do another s out and then sample dog dot happy. Okay, so here, let me just add a few comments right here. So here, happy should equal false. And after we run our make happy method, happy should equal true. And this is called a comment. And with these, you just use the two slashes, and that just lets the program know that this isn't something that is part of the actual program. It's just for us as the programmers, something that just notes that we can make for different lines of code. And we'll have more comments as well as we move forward. But that's just so if you write something, you come back a year later, it's a little easier to know what you were doing. Okay, so now let's run this. So I'm gonna save this app.java, and then we're gonna click run. And we have our hello world up here, and we have false, and then we see true. And another thing that we can do to make this a little more readable is I can add a string up here. So here we'll say dog is, and then a colon, just so we could tell what this value is, and we don't just see a true or a false. And then here we'll say dog is this. Let's ask dog is happy. Alright. So now if we run this again, we'll see our hello world right here. We'll see dog is happy false, and then dog is happy true. And we could also use s out to sample dot number of legs. So with our number of legs, as we saw, let's see, number of dog legs. With our number of dog legs, let's see, just to verify that our method is working, we'll do it this way, and we could also do it this way as well. So with our dog legs, if you remember, we have the value at 4, and with our number of legs method that we created, we're also returning the number of legs that we have. So in here, these two should have the exact same number, but we're going to show how you can get it 2 different ways. And if we click run again, down here we can see that our number of dog legs is 4, and then our number of dog legs is 4. And yeah, this is going to wrap up this video. So this is just a few things that you can do in Java so far, and next I'm going to show you how we can do the same thing in Python. So stay tuned for that video, and thanks again for joining.